Hello everyone. So today what we'll be doing would be a little bit review of a blog, and I think this will be sort of series where I'll be reviewing some dev blogs on Medium, Dev2, Hashnode, all of these platforms, and and this is like an impromptu thing. So I'll be reading the first time with you guys itself, uh, and let's see how it goes. And meanwhile, I'll also search whatever I don't know. And being in web dev from like last couple of years, Next.js, doing Next.js from last 2 years. Before that, I was doing a little bit of Gatsby as well. Now Gatsby is obliterated from my memories, but yeah, still I remember a little bit. But let's see how it goes. So all the credit goes to Alex Barashkov, who is the writer of this blog. So this blog came today morning in my digest, and I was like, okay, let's do it. I planned doing these sessions way back, like previous to previous week, but wasn't getting time. And today I got a digest, so I was like, okay, let's pick and choose one from this only. So this one is comparing Gatsby and Next.js for website development, which makes very much sense. Gatsby and Next.js from a first glance could pretty be much same. Yeah, both are React-based frameworks. Do SSR, which is like server-side rendering. SSG is just static site generation. Have big countries. We'll be diving deep into what SSR and SSG is in a moment, and it is just a promotion of their agency, like what they do and how they figure out things. So now the article will explain how these guys who are experts in their own area, who who take decisions what to do, which stack to choose next or Gatsby. So choosing the technology, we need to keep in mind a few factors, which is speed, editorial experience, maintainability, scalability, customization. Yeah, of course, scalability. If you are a developer who's a fresher, or who is building his or her own project, or who is even like doing freelancing stuff, scalability is not much you should think about. But of course, like if you provide scalability to your users, to your clients, it's like an icing on the cake. Here's how feature comparison table looks like. Okay, so image optimization, both of them, because Next has its own Next image, and Gatsby also. Gatsby has this plugin, I remember, like super awesome plugin. Then of course you have SSG, SSG in both Next and Gatsby. I'm not sure if you have an SSR in Gatsby. I haven't done it. Now React is introducing that in its own model using hydration, and hydration was way earlier, but now it has server-side components, I guess server components or something like that. Haven't like used vanilla React. I mean, like I'm always using Next.js for any project I'm using. But yeah, ISR again. ISR is a little bit new for me for Gatsby. I wasn't sure about ISR and Gatsby, but okay, makes sense. Um, Plugins, of course, you don't have plugins in Next.js, but Next.js by default has a lot of support. I mean, I think by far the best one. I may sound biased. I'm like, I don't know, but yeah, Next.js is my go-to thing. The first love. After, of course, I tried it after Gatsby, but yes. Then you have CMS integration of what the hell. CMS integrations you do get in Next.js also. You have things like Contentful, you have things like Netlify CMS, which is of course like free of cost. Internationalization in both of them, API routes, API middlewares, global middleware. I'm not sure what that means. Um, Global data layer. Again, I don't know. Themes. Oh, dude, you get themes with both of them. I mean, like it's not correct that much. Okay. However, those minor differences could cause a huge impact on website development. Now let's go over what needs to be on the website and check how the frameworks handle the same task. So everything begins or ends with favicon. Okay, dude, that's a little bit weird statement to make, but okay, fine. A simple tiny thing that every website has, and it's a favicon. You need to have usually more than one, of course. It's nice, and when you don't need to care about it, in Gatsby you don't. Okay, okay, okay. In Gatsby, you don't, because what I normally do is my process of building a website is, so whenever I have to generate a favicon, I usually do it in Figma. And in Figma, there is a plugin, I don't remember the name. With that, with just one click, you can generate all sizes like 16 into 16, 32 cross 32, 64 cross 64, till 512 cross 512. I mean, like, pretty awesome. And it just encapsulate all of that in a zip folder, and then you can just import it in Next.js. Haven't done it with Gatsby, but Gatsby I think by default has its own plugin in config.js. Okay, and with oh yeah, I mean like with Next.js, of course, there is no opinionated way. Try to Google it and see how different things answer Stack Overflow thread. So this is giving some Stack Overflow, and this is how I also do it. Like I do a link rel icon, and for every different pixel, I have like different links, link tags. Future is here with image optimization. Now, image optimization is a concept in both Next as well as Gatsby. For a fact, I know because Next Image was recently launched by Next, like by Versal, and Next Image has this awesome image optimization features. So you have all the skeleton loading, the blur effect at the when the page is not loaded or is like getting the data. Then you have all the image effects as well with just one click, and also with Next with Tailwind CSS. I mean, like it's super awesome. You have like with CSS utility classes, you get a lot of customizations just built into Tailwind CSS, and like pretty dope. Is Next Image good? I love it. Let's see what they have to say about it. Next image is just a component when actual image optimization happens via the API route that accepts query string and returns the processed image. Yep, very true, very true. And like this architecture, it also brings additional flexibility in terms of optimized images without using a React component. Yeah, of course, because all the manipulations are done by the API route. Your React component doesn't have to do anything. So it's like better optimization at the end of the day, right? Another thing worth mentioning, next image requires you to specify the width and height, which is not the case when you fetch data from a CMS unless you use layout fill. But having done that, you are required to manually handle the logic of the image wrapper. Yep, but of course, like you can use layout fill, that's not an issue. So to avoid layout shifts, you fetch the image from a CMS, get their width and height, then for example using a CSS aspect ratio. And of course, like CSS aspect ratio is very much with the Tailwind version 3, it's like just one utility class and you are able to manage the aspect ratio pretty neatly. So it's not a big problem. But of course, if Gatsby image handles it by default, I mean like that's a way better thing. So I'll go with SVG hack as Gatsby image does automatically to maintain the original proportions. And okay, so is Gatsby image better? No, it doesn't have an API endpoint, so your React component has to do a lot of stuff off their graph. Okay, so behind the scene, GraphQL is doing a lot of stuff. Everything works out of the box without additional configuration. And there's one more thing Gatsby can do better, which is image art direction. Don't know about it. Let's open this in another tab. The typical use case for this is when you have a big diagram, let's say on the homepage, but on mobile, it will be too small if you just scale it down. As a solution, you might pass a secondary image with increased diagram labels. Oh, nice. That's nice. If art direction. Oh, they don't have any image or something. If it would have been any image or some guidance, it would be better. But I'm not going to read all out of this stuff. I mean, like we get an idea, right? With the diagram example, they are pretty much clear about what this is all about. That's why I love this blog. Importance of CMS integrations. For the best customer experience, it's spacious to provide the greatest flexibility for editors and solid CMS integration in place. On the website, we build every word and page can be edited via CMS and metadata, page URLs, all of that. Use a headless WordPress for most of the time. I mean, like you can use a headless WordPress. There are a lot of them. Contentful, Netlify CMS, Sanity, yeah, Sanity.io. There are a lot of them out there, and you, it's just how you want to do it. Like everyone has its own use cases. I for my clients, I mostly use Contentful, but it gives like thousand like posts in the free tier. After that, you can like pay for the services. But with Netlify CMS, you have like this free customizable platform, and you just do a Netlify admin and you're able to get it. Of course, they are giving examples as a Strappy, Prismic. Strappy is used a lot. I have seen Strappy a lot by a lot of YouTubers. They build links with Strappy. I haven't tried it though. Okay. Gatsby and the power of plugins. Yeah. Okay. With Gatsby, the integration is a matter of plugin installation providing. And of course, like I don't think they have covered this, but with Gatsby, you have to learn GraphQL as well. So I think while learning Gatsby, it's like more like learning GraphQL rather than just building on the top of React. But with Next.js, the learning curve is very small. You just have to like you can just get started with Next.js after you are done learning React.js. So pretty neat in that way. But of course, like Gatsby plugins is a huge power. Let's see. No need to deal with SDKs and nudging through API docs. Everything will be fetched and added to a unified Gatsby GraphQL layer. There are so many plugins that you can find a source plugin literally for anything. The client uses some recruiting platform also display jobs. Okay, of course, you have this by default as well. So not a problem. Does he plan to display a list of GitHub repositories with star counts? Just go and grab. Okay, so they want to say that GraphQL community, of course, GraphQL community is very strong and they have built plugin for everything out there. So it's just like WordPress. So WordPress also you have a lot of plugins similar. So Gatsby, what I call is the WordPress of web development, web application development. So it's like a lot of plugins are out there. Yep. So an example of fetching data with Gatsby source WordPress plugin. Yeah. Okay. So then you have Next.js tailored approach, which is like it does not have plugins for fetching data from CMS, but we do find an SDK, right? And now in an API, think of reusability and integration. This is what I also do. So I built one API for one project and use it in my multiple projects. And let's say I have a so normally for login before I got to know about what is this Next.js one-click login. I don't remember the name. Shit, I forgot the name, but there's something out there. If you know that, you can write that in the comments. But next login? I don't remember. But yeah, before finding out that, I just built my own login system, and I was using it in like a lot of projects, just customizing the CSS, and you're done. You have a new login system. On the backend, it's like same. It's using same stuff, JWT, session keys, all of that stuff. But on the front end, it's like you have this CSS layer on the front end. You just change the theme, the style a little bit, and you're done. Voila, right? So maybe it's okay for small size, but for large one, it requires spending some time. More data fetching architecture, but of course, like it's customization as well, right? For large projects, most of the projects are not they're not same. They are very much different. How you are fetching data, how you're doing everything. It's like pretty much insane. To preview or not to preview. Okay, let's step back because I'm sure that many people don't even bother themselves giving the functionality to it. Review functionality means rendering a specific page on demand from a CMS without publishing it. If you use Gatsby, suppose the most popular CMS and works seamlessly. Even Next.js supports these popular CMSs, and like that's not an issue. Um, Within headless CMS, okay. Flexibility for editors with programmatic page generation. Yep, that's what ISR is all about, right? But why haven't they mentioned ISR in Gatsby? Mm, okay, enable refresh endpoint equals to true as well as headless WP. With Next.js, things yet again get more complicated. Again, there is a need to write it manually for every entity. Okay. So flexibility for editors with programmatic page generation. So with Next.js, of course, you can have a slug, and then the slug is a dynamic route. And as soon as you publish anything on your CMS, a new page, a new route is generated for that. And if you have an extension of this is that if you have a dynamic sitemap, it so let's say you post some content on Contentful or Netlify, and then you just publish it using ISR. It just gets generated by default, and it is sort of your website is redeployed. Um, and as soon as it is redeployed, a new sitemap is also generated for your that particular blog route. So you are ready for an automated SEO as well. And that's what I did with a programmatic SEO thing once. Like I generated almost 100 to 150 blogs in a week. Yeah, like with the help of two to three marketer friends I had. So I'm like pretty insane stuff. Um, okay. Yeah, so you have with the wildcard component, the root, the rendition wrapper, use FOST, a framework built with Next.js tuned specifically to WordPress integration. Oh, I didn't know about this one. That's nice. And you will find exactly option to see how complex it is, and it's only for available for WordPress. Okay, so they are vouching for the fact that it's complex, and maybe that's the reason I haven't heard about it. But it's insane if you have like WordPress compatibility with it, because a lot of people out there don't know about Contentful or Netlify or Strappy. They mostly go with WordPress. So yeah. It's nice if you have something like a headless framework for. I don't know what the complexity is. Okay, so let's go on for Gatsby. So Gatsby originally had created an SSG, so it has a few powerful architecture concepts. That's what I was saying. Like back, I think 2 years back, it was only SSD. There was no SSR in Gatsby, whereas Next just started out with SSR, and then it sort of included ISR, and now there is something like on-demand ISR as well. They released in the next version, which was released, I guess day before yesterday by Versal. So something like that. I haven't deep dive as well. So let's see. Single point of programmatic page generation in Gatsby Node.js. Imagine that it's like telling the framework in natural language, please fetch all the pages and then create each CMS page, a relevant Gatsby page template, and make it accessible on URL defined in a CMS. So here we can use different templates for pages based on data from CMS. Okay, what it defines here is exactly like an ISR, but I don't know what Gatsby node does with this one. Like we have to separately open, and like this is a blog for another day maybe. Like this thing we can like dive from the documentation, or we can do a documentation review uh, if this blog review goes well maybe. template concepts Templates concepts, separating pages concept and templates make it easier to define hard-coded URLs and programmatically created pages based on templates. Okay, but that's the same with Next.js as well. You have your dynamic square bracket slug um, route, which makes the dynamic as well as the static and the content all three in different buckets. Okay. As a result, you can achieve entire CMS-driven routes and page creation without overwhelming yourself with complicated logic in the code. So we demand ISR. Oh yeah. Okay. ISR allow you to update only specific pages incrementally instead of rebuilding all pages based on incoming changes. I told you. Incremental builds are technically different from ISR, but both are trying to solve the problem, speeding up content updates on production by incrementally updating pages. So Gatsby has been having incremental builds since V3. Okay, version 3. I don't remember which version I used, and actively uses it with help of different CMS integrations and Gatsby Cloud by rebuilding only new updates. Next had been following a different approach. They do not require an additional build to run. Instead, allow you to specifically specify the time in seconds for which page. Yeah, that's what the dope thing about Next is, that you can specify like after how much time an ISR should regenerate. I mean, like how after a certain time interval an ISR triggers, and you have even like things like caching and all of that stuff, which makes it more faster. That's fine. Initially, I was considered putting it as a disadvantage for Next.js. It was a high demand feature, but while I've been working on this article, they introduced on-demand ISR. Yeah, I told you, as of 17th February, they had this on-demand ISR, which was introduced. Right now, it's in beta. Okay. Now you have data queries. Another highly demanding feature of Next.js is query data similar to get server-side props, get static props on a component level instead of a parent page level. Currently, you have to use props drilling or stores context to pass data from top level to underneath. React 18 and server side should potentially solve this issue. Is it about like state? Another highly demanding feature of Next.js is queries data similar to get server side and get static on component level instead of different on just a parent page level. Yeah, yeah. Currently, what you have to do is you have to make a sort of this state tree where you have like you use a context API, and then you create a context API tree, sort of this Christmas tree problem you can say it as, um, where you have like all of these things. I'm like I don't think I'm doing justice to this concept, but yeah, sorry for that. Sorry. Meanwhile, in a Gatsby project, you can fetch data and from a global GraphQL layer from anywhere using a use static query to it simplifies the architecture and allows you to, because of course it is using GraphQL, and searching in GraphQL is like way simpler than doing any kind of an API route, API fetching, or any kind of stuff. GraphQL is like way better for searching. So of course, Gatsby wins over here. External imports. This has been brought by Next.js recently, and we are all signs of being a massive advantage. for combining low code, no code solution with handwritten applications to understand the feature it is best using Framer and Next.js. Only did it once. I'm like not a huge fan of all the animations and motions going on in the web page. I mean, like it makes it more lively, undoubtedly, but I'm more of a guy of a GSAP, Tween Max and all that. You have the scroll effects and stuff. I'm more of that kind of guy. Framer and of course, like by default, Tailwind provides a lot of animation, spin, and all of those stuff going on. So uh, Framer I haven't used like a lot. Okay, Handshake. I don't know what Handshake is. No idea. Okay. So you can build a custom component in Visual Editor, maybe also wrap it with some nice animations, and then just import it. Okay, okay. So you fetch a card from here. You have an external import. Okay, I get it. Okay, okay, okay. So it's like you are importing from a URL. I didn't knew, bro. Next.js has this feature. That's pretty dope. There's something I must try. If there's something like that, I'm gonna try it. And it's like you don't have a React component. Instead, what you are doing is you are getting a component from a website and then declaring it and then using it in your um, own application somewhere. That's nice. Your own component. This is mind blowing and opens a lot of other possibilities. Yep, that's what I was thinking about. Gatsby does not allow you to do this um, at this moment, so it's something you want to use in your project. Yeah, I do want to. Sitemaps are good everywhere, of course. Sitemaps are good in Next as well as Gatsby. And like that's not something. Okay, for Next.js library does the same but requires additional post build script execution. Oh yeah, this is what I was talking about when I told you that uh, with ISR you can have a post build script which automatically generates the sitemap. So it's like a dynamic sitemap. I think Gatsby handles it by default. Yeah, it handles it using a plugin, but Next.js has a library for it. Smartless internationalization R18. And interesting thing about this point that despite the fact that implementation will look almost the same for both frameworks, another Next.js feature called global middlewares, I don't know about it, makes it much more powerful. It allows you to define a top level middleware and perform, let's say, a country detection on an edge network and then either replacing or redirecting user to a statically generated page. I'm doing country detection because one of my books uses this thing known as um, what is the term for that? Price parity. So PPP, I guess. Country price parity, something like that. PPP, we call it. So with price parity, based on your country, you can define how much the purchasing power parity, sorry, PPP, purchasing power parity. So how much the purchasing power of the citizens of the country they have, and then according to that, you can negotiate the price for different countries. Let's say my book, because it sell in India for almost 150 rupees, whereas in US it's like $19 or $20 because for a fact I know because I'm in Canada right now, so I know the hourly wage for someone who is going to buy a book is almost $50. It's just like 20 minutes of earning of his or her money, so it's not a huge deal. Whereas like 1,200 or 1,500 rupees is a huge deal for someone in India, right? Okay, so this is summary. We can still recommend both frameworks for website development as a very reliable option. However, Gatsby define work better in terms of static generation and integration made possible by the plugin ecosystem. For us, those features are critical, and we see how Gatsby is able to build websites faster, flexible, and maintainable. Next.js is more dynamic, of course. I'm like that's okay. Let's read completely. Next.js is more dynamic, and any global middleware functionality could help with internationalization, A/B testing, of course, of feature flags. I mean, like as soon as it mentioned for internationalization, by default, my mind went to A/B testing. I was like, okay, this is something I could do with global middlewares. I mean, like I have opened it here after just reading summary. Let's dive into what actually global middleware are. These are definitely nice to have, but usually they are only required for huge enterprise grade tech where you can afford such a blah, blah, blah. It's not like that. Even with my own SaaS product, I have Am I reading too much? I don't know. But with the product I have, it currently has a couple of users only, but I'm even still trying A/B testing. It's not a huge enterprise level thing, bro. A/B testing is for SaaS, it's for startups. Okay, middleware. Middleware enables you to code over a configuration. I know what's middleware, okay. Based on the user's incoming request, you can modify the response by rewriting it, okay. So you install the latest version and then you create a middleware.js or TS, whatever it is, under a pages directory and then export a middleware function. Okay, and then you can use a middleware. Okay, so what is a global middleware? This is what a global middleware is, okay. Okay, so let's say you go to a page and then you want to detect the country. So I mean, like, how are you even doing that? Right now, I use IP API, which detects the IP, and then it detects the country, something like that. But the problem with that is it doesn't work on Brave, maybe because Brave has this sort of mode, like I don't know, this mode shield, this Brave shield. That's sort of a problem right now. If it can solve this, I'm like this would be a good thing for me. Deployment no, nothing like global middleware written over here. Like this is middleware, but dude, what's a global middleware? Global middleware in next. Global middleware is API routing. I'm currently working on converting my Express custom server to API routes. I had a couple of globally unified middlewares, but I'm not sure how to handle the word of API routes. I guess global middleware are the normal middlewares only. I'm also wondering what the best practice to implement global middleware. This has been a further discovery. It seems it has been abandoned for now. Mm, Next Connect is great, but I would love a way to plug in my logger globally for all routes. I would love a way to plug in my logger globally for all routes. I don't know. Right now, I'm sitting in Concordia University in the corridor and making out video, and every person passing by has this weird look. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. Okay, I guess this is the selected answer. Maybe this is the okay. Let's. And Fast.js looks promising. I mean, like it doesn't look much complex. Let's see. Let's see the docs. Okay, you create an application. Dude, why are they giving a video? I don't want to watch a video right now. And setting up permalinks. You just have this in your .env, your fast secret key, and then your WordPress URL, and I think you're good to go. How is it even complicated? I mean, like this is way better than any other thing you have. I mean, like, similar to all the other APIs you have normally. Library, sorry. Yep. If you understand GraphQL, you can do that. Like it's cool. It looks cool. It looks promising. Not an issue with it. First, and of course, like with that direction is something uh, specific to Gatsby only. This one also was good. Okay, voila, we are done with our first blog. I know it was not very much in depth, but whoever is watching, you would have got a little bit of understanding about things. We can even like go to discussion and maybe oh wow, it was Nextauth. The thing I was talking about, like one-click authentication, it was Nextauth. Nextauth is like super awesome. Before I discovered Nextauth, I had my own login system. I built it from scratch. But this thing, I mean, this is super awesome. This is super awesome. If you go to the documentation, getting started, it's so simple, so clean, so smooth, so slick. It's awesome. Okay, that's all for this video, guys. Goodbye.